Welcome to the podcast of my research paper for the module Teach as a Researcher PN4048. My issue or theme that I'd like to write about or find out more about is the spatial thinking at the ages, in particular the junior cycle. This is down to my brief experience on teaching practice, where anytime I introduced the idea of orthographic projection, the students have found it very hard to be able to visualise a 3D object and put it onto a 2D paper or make an elevation plan in view of the object they have in front of them. So quite explicitly, my research question is, what factors are the best to develop spatial literacy or skills in a technology based classroom? So the idea would be that you start off with acknowledging what spatial literacy is and what I'm interpreting it to be. That'll frame the rest of the paper as I go through. Following this, you'll be going on to the importance of spatial thinking or spatial skills within a technology-based context, and then comparing it to the worldwide in terms of spatial literacy and influencing factors of improving spatial literacy. And then at the very end, it'll be testing our methods of research in order to see what factors are in fact the most influential in improving spatial literacy. On this slide you can see that for each section I have a main reading, but in particularly there will be a lot more readings throughout the paper, but these are just the most ones that stood out to me the most while looking up the topic. So the research methods I plan to use: pragmatic paradigm aligns with my assumption of the social world. The paradigm puts the question central and looks objectively at how about what's the best suited method. Generally it'd be more so quantitative method, and qualitative method would be kind of secondary in terms of which method I'm going to use the most. To limit the amount of bias, teachers will be given lesson plans, there'll be observations. There will be a factor of transformative paradigm whereby the outliers will be counted for. The methodology, as I said before, will be based on the junior cycle, so age between maybe even 12, maybe 13-year-olds to 16-year-olds. The three groups that will be given: one will be the control group and two experimental groups. In the two experimental groups, one group might be learning through the likes of freehand sketching, and the second group will be learning through the exercise of visualizing, spinning, moving and interpreting from different perspectives from 2D graphic given in the workbook they might be given during the few weeks that they do the experiment. Whereas the third group then is your control group that's being taught your generally way that the teacher is taught previous to now. So implication for practice: the main objection to this study is to find the most effective way of teaching spatial skills. During the paper, as I said, we'll be outlining the importance of spatial literacy, that it is important, and say that we might actually find it such an importance that we set aside a period of time in the school year to teach spatial literacy. And then from the findings of the paper, what is the best method of teaching spatial literacy within the junior cycle course? This might not be completely down to just freehand sketching, might not be completely down to orientation or spinning objects in a workbook, but it could be down to a mixture of both or 3 or 4 different teaching methodologies. This is my paper as of now.